Hi, thank you for joining me for another short lecture. And friends, today I want to talk to you about conversion. But specifically, I want to talk to you about how long is a Jewish conversion supposed to take according to actual Jewish law. And you're probably wondering why I say actual Jewish law as opposed to just Jewish law. Well, friends, the truth is that unfortunately, nowadays, because of modern rabbis overstepping their bounds, we have what people call Jewish law, which is what virtually every modern-day rabbi says is the law, and then we have what actually appears in our law codes. And when I say our law codes, I mean sources that either come from the Mishnaic period, i.e. rabbis with real smicha who sat on the actual Sanhedrin, or some later simplified codification of these sources. And for these, today I'm going to use the Rambam's Mishneh Torah and Rav Yosef Karel's Shulchan Aruch. So anyone in the process of conversion nowadays will tell you that the process, once you are accepted, takes about 1 to 3 years. But this is only when you have relocated to an area that has a body of rabbis that are allowed to perform conversions, which in the U.S. is really only limited to about 20 rabbis. And friends, honestly, one can actually record hours and hours of lectures on the gross injustices that occur in the Jewish world of conversion. From even what we just mentioned to the limiting of who can perform conversions resulting from the modern rabbis outlawing conversions in about 95% of the world. Or the relatively new practice that many assume is law, the practice of pushing people away at least 3 times. Or the attempts constantly being made by the religious members of the Israeli Knesset to block converts from gaining Israeli citizenship, from the ridiculous notion that Jews are in some way not allowed to share their faith with others. Friends, to the unlawful nullifying of conversions performed according to Jewish law. And friends, it's really ridiculous. I mean, it gets so ridiculous that so much is done against conversion and converts when the mistreating of strangers entering our people is one of the 3 most capital of offenses in the Torah. One of the few transgressions that the Almighty Himself states that He personally would destroy Israel over. And for some reason, this bothers virtually no rabbi today, at least none who publicly make themselves known by speaking out. Now, did you hear what I'm saying? That's one of the 3 worst sins in Torah. It says it many times that if you mistreat the almana, the yatum, the ger, the widow, the orphan, the stranger, what we loosely translate as convert, that we will be destroyed. And no, this doesn't mean only someone who has converted already, because as Rav Tzadok Gaon stated, that this even applies before the conversion. And even how this plain text of the Torah states that it's any stranger contextually who is either sojourning with us or joining our people. But regardless, friends, we are here today to answer the question of, according to Jewish law, how long is a conversion to Judaism supposed to take? So the way we're going to accomplish this is by going down the sources from the Shulchan Aruch to Mishneh Torah down to Chazal themselves, and see if we can find a pattern that would either help us justify the years that someone is made to wait to convert nowadays, or perhaps prove that it actually takes less time. Friends, by doing this, we will actually cover virtually every source that exists regarding conversion in Jewish law. And the reason I'm telling you this is that many tell me that after they ask their rabbis any question regarding the topic of conversion or people performing conversions, they usually tell them that the laws regarding conversions are very difficult and only a master of Jewish law could ever even undertake witnessing a conversion. And yes, they use this as a reason for them never studying the topic, or less caring to ever perform a conversion in the first place. And you would actually be surprised to learn that all we have regarding the laws of conversion only appears in 1 page of Gemara. That's all. There's actually more on washing your hands. There's more on how to recite Birkat Hamazon. There's more on virtually any trivial subject than on conversion. Why? Because Chazal knew that if they made the topic too difficult, people would refuse to perform them out of fear that they'd be doing something wrong, which is the claim or the excuse that is used today. Friends, it'd be funny if it wasn't so sad. And today I'm going to prove to you that according to Jewish law, conversions are supposed to be immediate. This is how it was done biblically, and this is how conversions were performed for at least the last 1600 years till something changed. And what changed? Well, basically the way we looked at outsiders in the Jewish world changed. And in my opinion, it only really changed with the great influx of Kabbalistic Judaism, which occurred around the 16th century. So, in other words, friends, today you will know more than any other rabbi cares to know regarding conversions. So, to begin, in Shulchan Aruch, Yeridea, Siman Reish Samechet, it states, a convert who enters the congregation of Jews is obligated first for circumcision. So quickly we see here that it refers to the person coming as a convert, as a ger already, because remember what the Torah stated, Ve'aftem et ger, that you shall love the stranger. So this is not only referred to a convert after he has converted, right? It says, ger shenechnam l'klal Yisrael. Anyways, reading on. If he was circumcised when he was a non-Jew or he was born circumcised, it is necessary to take from him a drop of the blood of the covenant. But one does not bless over him. If his penis has been cut off, the requirement of his circumcision does not hinder him from converting to Judaism. If he immersed prior to circumcision, it is effective, because post facto it is considered immersion. When one comes to convert, 3 people say to him, "What prompted you to come and convert? Or don't you know that at this point in time Israel is oppressed, hopeless, and tormented?" If he, the prospective convert, says, "I know, yet still I am not worthy to join them," we accept him immediately. You hear this, friends? That we accept him immediately and inform him of the principles of the faith, of the unity of God, of the prohibitions against idolatry, and go on at length with him about this. Also instruct him a bit in a few of the less strenuous mitzvot and a few of the more strenuous mitzvot, about a few of the punishments for transgressing mitzvot, and say to him, before you came, if you ate forbidden fats, you would not be punished by being cut off. If you desecrated Shabbat, you would not be stoned. And now if you eat forbidden fats, you will be cut off. And if you desecrate Shabbat, you will be stoned. Do not expound on this at too great a length. And in as much as you have informed him about the punishments for the transgressings of the commandments, so too you should inform him of the rewards for keeping the mitzvot, that in the doing of these mitzvot he will merit life in the world to come, and that there is no such thing as a complete righteous person except one who has wisdom and that does these commandments and knows them. Say to him, as for the world to come, it is not hidden, rather it is set apart for the righteous ones. They are Israel. Friends, did you just notice what the Shulchan Aruch just stated, lest anyone think that this was only the opinion of the Rambam? It clearly states that when someone comes to convert, we tell him that only the righteous members of Israel have a share in the world to come, which is the opposite, as you know, that is told to someone nowadays when they come to convert. In other words, nowadays the first thing they tell you is that why would you ever want to become Jewish when you could have a share in the world to come by only keeping 7 laws? And this, of course, they say to discourage you from converting. Well, friends, this is proof that they are actually going contrary to the halakha, telling a potential convert such discouraging words. Now, I know that such a philosophical idea does exist among the rabbis, the notion that a Noahide has a share, although the actual halakha in this case commands us to tell them something different. Why? Because Allah wants the person coming to know that what he is deciding to do is exceptional, something to be proud of, and not the nightmarish roller coaster that converts are put through today. And friends, you should also know that it is halakha that determines how we act in halachic situations and not philosophical arguments. But anyways, reading on. Today you see that Israel is in distress in this world because it is not granted them to receive the abundance of good things in this world like the other peoples, lest their hearts be indulged and be made lawfully, and they should go astray and squander the reward of the world to come. But God didn't bring them too much destruction so that they would not observe. And you explicate this idea so that he feels moved by it. So here it states that once he is told of all this, if he accepts, he is circumcised immediately. And that we only wait for the immersion till his circumcision heals. Some say that this is about 30 days. In other words, if he was already circumcised or if the candidate was female, the immersion would be done right away. And if there is any doubt regarding the time span between the time of circumcision and the time of immersion, let's stop and think, what is the integral part of conversion? Is it immersion or circumcision? Because remember, people back then didn't circumcise for health reasons. No, friends, only the Jews got circumcised. So it would really be a bit silly to assume that after his circumcision, which is the actual Torah requirement for conversion, that the candidate is then made to wait years for his immersion. But anyways, the following statement should fill us in on how long this complete conversion actually takes. Reading on. And afterwards, immerse him without a barrier. And then it states, and 3 learned scholars stand at his back and inform him of some of the light mitzvot and some of the more stringent mitzvot a second time as he stands in the water. Did you notice what just happened? It said that we inform him a second time while he's in the water. Friends, if this was only the second time he's being informed of the mitzvot while he is standing in the water, this solidifies the notion that the conversion only must have took 1 day, or a maximum of, let's say, 30 if the man wasn't circumcised, unless he was only taught the mitzvot on the first day he came to convert, and then, again, after the supposed year that they make one wait today. In other words, it states that he is taught the few light and heavy mitzvot a second time, and this is when he is already in the water. In other words, where is the years of learning about the mitzvot, which are what converts are put through today? Get it, friends? But anyways, reading on. And if it is a woman sits in the water up to her neck while the Beit Din is outside, and they teach her some of the easy mitzvot and some of the more stringent mitzvot while she is in the water. And afterwards, she immerses before them, and they turn their faces and leave in order that they do not see her when she is getting out of the water. And they bless the immersion after she comes out of the water. And once he has immersed, he is a Jew. And if he goes astray, he is like an apostate Jew. He is still sanctified, and his marriage is sanctified. And this here solidifies the notion that if these precepts are followed, that the person is a Jew. In other words, there's no such thing as what is taught today, that there are some people who perform fake conversion. Friends, if the law is followed, every and any conversion performed by a kosher Jew is kosher. And yes, the halakha never states that you need a rabbi to perform a conversion. Actually, it's crystal clear that 3 hediotot, or 3 laymen, can perform a conversion. And friends, if it wasn't clear enough, I'm going to quote the Rambam's understanding of these halachot as initially brought down by Chazal. However, I must warn you that the Shulchan Aruch actually quotes the Rambam's rendition of these halachot almost verbatim. Actually, the only reason I quoted the Shulchan Aruch in the first place was lest someone would say that, oh, today we don't go by the Rambam, today we go by the Shulchan Aruch. But regardless, in the Rambam's Mishneh Torah, Hilchot Isurei Biyah, Perek Yud Dalet, it states, what is the procedure when accepting a righteous convert? When one of the Gentiles comes to convert, we inspect his motives. If an ulterior motive for conversion is not found, we ask him, why did you choose to convert? Don't you know that in the present era the Jews are afflicted, crushed, subjugated, strained, and suffering comes upon them? If he answers, I know, would it be that I be able to be a part of them? We accept him immediately. Miyad, immediately, my friends. So no, this is not just on circumcision like it's stated in the Shulchan Aruch, but it means that we accept him immediately as a potential convert. In other words, not what's done today that the rabbi will tell you to call him back in 2 months or tries countless other ways to discourage you. So yes, yet again they break Jewish law. But anyways, reading on. We inform him of the fundamentals of the faith, i.e. the unity of God and the prohibition against the worship of false deities. We elaborate on this matter. We inform him of some of the easy mitzvot and some of the more severe ones. We do not elaborate on this matter. We inform him of the transgression of not leaving leket, peah, and the second tithe, and we inform him of the punishment given for violating the mitzvot. What is implied? We tell him, before you came to our faith, if you partook of fat, you were not liable for your soul to be cut off. If you desecrated the Sabbath, you were not liable to be stoned to death. Now, after you convert, if you partake of fat, you are liable for your soul to be cut off. If you desecrate the Sabbath, you are liable to be stoned to death. We do not teach him all the particulars, lest this cause him concern and turn him away from a good path to a bad path. Good path and bad path. If the halachic understanding, friends, is that a Gentile wanting to convert is one who's on a good path, then a Gentile not interested in converting, i.e. a Noahide, is someone who is on the wrong path. Now, tell that to your rabbi tomorrow and see what he responds with. But anyways, it continues. For at the outset, we draw a person forth with soft and appealing words. As it states, with cords of men I drew them forth, and then continues, with bonds of love. So here the Rambam clearly states that from the outset we encourage a person. Again, ask your rabbi, what does this mean? And if this is the halakha, friends, then what the heck are we doing today? But anyways, reading on. Just as he's informed of the punishment for disobeying the commandment, so too he is informed about the reward for their observance. We tell him that by observing these mitzvot, he will merit the life of the world to come. For there is no completely righteous man other than a master of wisdom who observes these mitzvot and knows them. We tell him, know that the world to come is hidden away only for the righteous. They are the Jews. The fact that you see Israel suffering difficulty in this world reflects the good that is hidden away from them. For they cannot receive an abundance of good in this world as the Gentiles do. For their hearts may become uplifted, and they will err and lose the reward of the world to come. Sounds familiar? So much for discouraging converts with the Noahide laws. But anyways, reading on. The Holy One, blessed be He, brings upon them an abundance of retribution solely so that they will not perish. For all the other nations will perish, and they will prevail. We elaborate on this concept to make them feel cherished. If the prospective convert retracts and does not want to accept the mitzvot, he goes on his way. If he accepts, we do not have him wait, but instead we circumcise him immediately. Again, my friends, immediately. If he was circumcised, we draw the blood of circumcision from him. We wait until he heals entirely and then immerse him. Again, friends, there seems to be no gap here between the actual circumcision and immersion apart from the actual healing of the circumcision. But anyways, 3 judges stand over him and inform him about some of the easy mitzvot and some of the more severe ones a second time while he stands in the water. And again, friends, here it states that we only inform him a second time while he's in the water. Now, does this sound like a year conversion process? And regarding someone who agrees to get circumcised and then allows up to a year to go by without doing the immersion, the Rambam specifically writes that he is to be considered as a heretic among the nations. But anyways, lastly, friends, we will quote the actual source for these halachot as it appears in Masechet Yevamot. But I have to warn you that what you're going to hear sounds all too familiar, mainly because it's virtually the exact words that appear both in Shulchan Aruch and Mishneh Torah. It states in Masechet Yevamot, Daf Mem Zayin, Amud Aleph and Bet. It states, if a man desires to become a convert, we tell him, what reason have you for wanting to become a convert? Do you know that Israel at the present time are persecuted and oppressed, despised and harassed, and overcome by afflictions? If he replies, I know, and yet I am unworthy, he is accepted immediately and is then given instruction on the minor laws and some of the major laws. He is informed of the sin of the neglect of the commandment of gleaning, the forgotten sheaf, the corner, and the poor man's tithe. He is also told of the punishments for the transgressions of the commandments. Furthermore, he is addressed thus, be it known to you that before you came to this condition, if you had eaten sut, you would not have been punishable with karet. If you had profaned the Sabbath, you would not have been punishable by stoning. But now that you were set to eat sut, you would be punishable by karet. And if you profaned the Sabbath, you would be punished with stoning. And as he is informed of the punishment for the transgression of the commandment, so is he informed of the reward granted for their fulfillment. He is told, be it known to you that the world to come was made only for the righteous, and that Israel at the present time are unable to bear either too much prosperity or too much suffering. He is not, however, to be persuaded or dissuaded too much. If he accepted, he is circumcised immediately. Should any shreds which render the circumcision invalid remain, he is to be circumcised a second time. As soon as he is healed, he is taken to the mikvah. You hear this? As soon as he is healed, he is taken to the mikvah. When 2 learned men then stand by his side and acquaint him with some of the minor commandments and then with some of the major ones. When he comes up after his immersion, he is deemed to be an Israelite in all respects. So, as you could see, that the source for these halachot is identical in the Gemara, the Mishneh Torah, and Shulchan Aruch. So, do you still think I'm lying, friends? As a matter of fact, if all this wasn't enough already, we actually have a story that tells us how long the conversion process took in Mishnaic times. It states in Masechet Shabbat, once there was a Gentile who came before Shammai and said to him, convert me on the condition that you teach me the whole Torah while standing on one foot. Shammai pushed him aside with the measuring stick he was holding. The same fellow came before Hillel. Hillel converted him, saying, the same fellow came The same fellow came before Hillel, and Hillel converted him. Then he said, "That which is despicable to you, do not do to your fellow. This is the whole Torah, and the rest is commentary. Go and learn it." Again, friends, conversion took one day. So by now, you're probably thinking, okay, Asher, you've made your point, but why is this so important, knowing how long a conversion should take? Friends, the reason this is so extremely important is because there is something utterly wrong with how the Jewish world views converts and those wanting to convert, or those who might one day want to convert today. Why? Because just as in the same way that they have made it virtually impossible to convert, they have also began to flatter and almost venerate anyone with ethnic Jewish blood, whether religious or not. In other words, we not only have elevated blood over ethics, but we have also replaced commitment with entitlement. And then we wonder why Judaism is on such a social, moral standstill, when those born into Jewish families today are fighting to get out, while those who are trying to join us from the outside, trying to come in, are flat out rejected. In other words, we have chosen to live in a mystical fairy tale, but at the same time, we have also chosen to ignore the consequences for our actions. Friends, it's time to wake up and realize that we have a world that's being destroyed because of a bad religion called Islam. And the only way you fix a bad religion is with the good religion, not with no religion. In other words, only true Torah Judaism can defeat Islam. And if you continue to do nothing, the blood of the victims of this hateful ideology are on your hands. In other words, do you know how many converts there are to Judaism in a given year in the U.S.? What if I told you that there were less than 300 Orthodox conversions performed in the U.S. every year? Now, do you know how many people converted to Islam just last year in the U.S.? 20,000. And remember, Muslims don't go door to door, but rather all they have is an open door policy. And most importantly, they treat people who try to join them nicely. But today we're told that we Jews are forbidden from sharing our beliefs with non-Jews, when this appears nowhere in Jewish law. We're also told that we must discourage those who come even on their own, and this appears nowhere in Jewish law, right? And then worse of all, when they come to us to convert, we offer them a different religion. We offer them the Noahide laws, when this appears nowhere in Jewish law, the offering of these Noahide laws. And worse, we make a simple conversion take years instead of days, how the halakha states that it should be, when this appears nowhere in Jewish law. And for all those who have the audacity to disagree with the Gemara's rendition of how long a conversion should take, let me ask you, do you also object to the idea that one could be born Jewish as well? In other words, why should we tolerate the notion that one can be born into Judaism and at the same time make it virtually almost impossible for outsiders to join, even in one day? Isn't that a double standard? In other words, friends, what the halakha is actually teaching us, that either being born Jewish or becoming Jewish is not the important thing. No, what it's telling us is that the important part begins after you enter the Jewish people. In other words, what you're going to do with your conversion or with your Jewish status, right? So becoming Jewish is just the means, not the end in itself. It's the ultimate illustration of Nasiv and Ishma. So if you're hearing me today, friends, and you don't have a religion or you're looking for a new religion, I want to encourage you to embrace Torah Judaism. For more information about Torah Judaism or becoming Jewish, please visit bejewish.org. Thank you.